Let's be honest, you don't hate studying, you hate how it makes you feel. That quiet panic when you sit down and your brain suddenly forgets how to think. That guilt that kicks in when you realize you've read the same sentence 8 times. That voice whispering, "You should be better than this." But here's the twist. You're not broken. Your brain is just smarter than your system. Because it's not wired to chase focus. It's wired to chase dopamine. And guess what? TikTok, YouTube, your phone, they're better at giving it than your textbook will ever be. So when you try to force discipline, you're basically asking your brain to pick broccoli over brownies, and then hating yourself when it doesn't. But what if focus wasn't something you had to fight for? What if you could trick your brain into studying, the same way social media tricks you into scrolling? That's what this video is about. Real psychological reprogramming, not cheesy study tips. You'll learn how to hack the exact system your brain uses to get addicted, and make it addicted to progress instead. Because once you get this right, you'll stop needing motivation. You'll just study automatically. Task pair, fusion. Your brain doesn't care what's productive. It only cares what feels good. That's why you'll scroll for 2 hours without effort. But opening a textbook feels like lifting a car. Here's the fix. Stop fighting your brain and start pairing with it. Take something you already love, music, movement, food, sunlight, and fuse it with the thing you avoid. Study math while sipping your favorite drink. Review notes while walking. Read while your brain's still buzzing after a workout. It's called task pair fusion. And it's not motivation, it's manipulation. When 2 actions keep happening together, your brain stops seeing them separately. The reward from the fun one bleeds into the boring one. Soon, your mind starts craving the combo, not resisting it. You're literally reprogramming dopamine. The same chemical that makes you check your phone every 8 minutes can make you open your book, if the timing's right. So stop waiting to feel ready. Just piggyback your focus onto something that already lights your brain up. After a week, studying stops feeling like a chore. It just becomes something your brain expects, the natural next step in a habit it already loves. Friction, coding. Most people fail to focus not because they're lazy, but because their environment is wired against them. Your brain follows the path of least resistance, and right now, that path probably leads straight to your phone. If scrolling takes 1 thumb movement and studying takes 10 steps, guess which one wins? Every single time. Friction. Coding is the art of flipping that. You don't make studying easier. You make distractions harder. Move your phone across the room. Log out of apps after every use. Put your charger in another spot so picking it up feels annoying. Small barriers, but huge shifts. Your brain doesn't argue with logic. It reacts to effort. Add just 5 seconds of friction to a bad habit, and it starts dying on its own. Remove 5 seconds from a good habit, and it suddenly feels natural. You can even weaponize it. Keep your notes open on your laptop's home screen. Leave your book half open on your desk. When focus becomes the easier option, discipline stops being a fight. This isn't productivity, it's engineering. You're not forcing yourself to study. You're designing your environment so studying becomes the default, and distraction feels like work. Emotional tagging. Your brain doesn't remember facts, it remembers feelings. Every memory you have that's stuck, every teacher you remember, every lesson that never left, has emotion tied to it. That's not nostalgia, that's neuroscience. The amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, decides what's worth saving. If a moment feels intense, funny, shocking, embarrassing, inspiring, your brain marks it as important. Everything else, it fades. That's why you remember a random childhood argument better than a chapter you studied last night. One had emotion, the other had boredom. So when you study, stop treating information like data. Make it mean something. Connect the idea to a story, a sound, a visual, a moment that actually moves you. When you read about a battle in history, imagine being there. When you learn a biology concept, imagine it happening inside your body right now. Add color, add drama, add you. This is emotional tagging, turning dry information into lived experience. Because the brain doesn't store what's repeated, it stores what mattered. And the more emotion you attach, the harder it is to forget. That's why people who feel their subjects, not just study them, seem effortlessly smart. Their brain isn't working harder. It's just remembering what it was designed to, what felt alive. Intentional interruption. Everyone tells you to finish what you start, but the truth is, stopping at the right moment can make you smarter. Your brain hates open loops. When you pause halfway through something, it keeps that thread alive in the background, replaying it, processing it, trying to close the gap. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, and it's the reason unfinished songs get stuck in your head, or why you can't stop thinking about a half-written text. Now imagine using that same glitch on purpose. You end your study session right in the middle of something interesting. Not when you're tired, not when it's done, when you're still curious. That unfinished feeling tells your subconscious, don't close this tab yet. While you're eating, walking, even sleeping, your brain keeps connecting ideas in the background. When you return, everything feels easier, smoother, because your mind's been quietly working while you weren't. This is intentional interruption. Studying like a hacker, not a grinder. You're not stopping out of laziness. You're setting a mental bookmark. And when you come back, focus clicks instantly. The hardest part of studying has never been the work. It's the re-entry. But if you leave the door half open, your brain never really leaves the room. Temporal anchoring. Your brain loves rhythm more than logic. It runs on internal clocks, pulses of chemistry and energy that rise and fall through the day. When you study at random times, you're fighting your own wiring. But when you lock into a pattern, your brain starts predicting focus before you even start. That's temporal anchoring. Teaching your brain when to turn on. Pick one exact time every day to study. Not just a vague evening, but a precise mark, 8:40 p.m. Do it again and again. After about a week, your brain starts releasing focus chemicals, dopamine, norepinephrine, cortisol, right before that time hits. It's like a built-in countdown to concentration. You've probably felt it before, that weird wave of alertness before your usual bedtime or hunger at the same hour every day. That's your circadian rhythm training you. Temporal anchoring hijacks that same system, but for focus. And here's the twist. The more consistent the time, the less motivation you need. Because your brain stops waiting for willpower. It starts expecting performance. The same way athletes have game time mode, you build study hour mode. Not by forcing it, by training your biology to show up on cue. After a few weeks, you won't have to convince yourself to study. Your brain will already be halfway there before the clock even hits. Reverse reward loop. You've been told to reward yourself after you study. Finish the chapter, then take a break. Earn the dopamine. But that's not how the brain works. Your brain doesn't crave effort. It craves anticipation. The dopamine spike doesn't come from the reward itself. It comes from the expectation of it. So when you delay pleasure, your brain doesn't get excited. It gets bored. That's why starting feels impossible. You're offering it nothing to look forward to. Now flip it. Give yourself the reward before the work, but in a controlled way. Drink the fancy coffee before you open the notes. Play your favorite song before you start revising. Create that small dopamine rush first, and your brain will link it to the task that follows. Do it consistently, and the craving moves, from the treat to the study itself. It's classical conditioning 2.0. Soon, your brain starts releasing dopamine, not after success but before action, pulling you into motion instead of waiting to celebrate after. This is reverse reward loop, hacking your reward system to make effort addictive. It's not about forcing motivation. It's about making the start feel as good as the finish. Because once your brain learns that effort equals reward, you stop chasing pleasure, and pleasure starts chasing you. Subconscious scripting. You don't only learn when you're awake and focused. You're learning all the time. Even when you're zoning out, walking, or half asleep, your subconscious never clocks out. It just listens quietly, storing patterns it hears, often enough. That's where subconscious scripting comes in, feeding your brain instructions while it's off guard. Here's how it works. Record yourself explaining a topic in your own words, not reading notes, explaining it, like you're teaching someone. Then play that recording while walking, cleaning, commuting, or before bed. Your voice slips through your conscious filter, and your brain starts processing it like a familiar rhythm. This works because your subconscious doesn't debate, it doesn't overthink, it absorbs. Every repetition strengthens the neural path, and because it's your voice, it hits faster. Your brain already trusts that sound. It's how language learners pick up accents, how musicians memorize chords, how athletes visualize movement before a game. You're just doing it with study material. After a few days, you'll notice recall feels different, smoother, like the answer is already waiting when you reach for it. That's not luck, that's wiring. Your conscious mind studies facts, your subconscious studies you. Feed it the right voice, and it starts working even when you don't. Memory decay. Training. Most people think forgetting is failure, but your brain sees it as a workout. Every time you almost forget something, your neurons stretch, strengthen, and rebuild that memory stronger than before. That's the core of memory decay training, learning to use forgetting instead of fearing it. When you cram, everything feels solid in the moment, but it's fragile. The brain never gets to rebuild those pathways. It just copies, pastes, and dumps. But when you wait just long enough for the memory to fade slightly, recalling it becomes resistance training for your neurons. That small struggle is what tells your brain, this is worth keeping. It's called desirable difficulty, and it's how elite learners train. They don't reread notes 5 times. They recall once, fail a little, and then lock it in permanently. Think of it like muscle growth. You don't get stronger by lifting air. You grow by lifting almost too much. Your memory works the same way. It needs that near failure point. So next time you review, don't panic when something feels half gone. That's your brain doing reps. That's the exact moment the knowledge stops being temporary and starts becoming yours. Sensory imprinting. Your brain doesn't think in words. It thinks in senses, smells, sounds, textures, and light. That's how it knows when it's safe, when it's time to eat, when it's time to sleep, and it's also how it decides when to focus. That's sensory imprinting, training your brain to enter study mode through the senses, not through willpower. You pick one sensory cue, a candle scent, a lo-fi playlist, a specific lighting color, and make it sacred to studying. You never use it for anything else. After a few sessions, your brain links that scent or sound to one message. It's time to lock in. It's classical conditioning, but upgraded for focus. When that cue appears, your nervous system stops wandering and starts preparing. Heart rate slows, distractions fade, dopamine rises just enough to create flow. You don't have to try to concentrate anymore. The cue does it for you. Athletes do this all the time. They lace up the same way before every game. Writers light the same candle before every session. Their body learns, this is the ritual that starts the work. Once your brain trusts a sensory signal, focus stops being a decision. It becomes a reflex. That's when studying goes from effort to instinct. Micro-reflection loop. Most people end a study session by shutting their books and walking away. But the smartest learners, the ones who actually remember what they study, do one tiny thing before they stop. They pause for 60 seconds, not to summarize, not to take notes, just to ask 3 questions. What clicked? What confused me? What will I fix next time? That's the micro-reflection loop, the smallest habit that quietly rewires your brain for mastery. It works because reflection activates metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. When you reflect, your brain reviews the pathways it just built and decides which ones to keep. That 60 seconds locks in hours of effort. It's like hitting save progress after every level. Without it, you might still move forward, but you'll keep losing pieces of what you learned along the way. The trick is not to overthink it. No journaling, no perfection, just awareness. When you end with reflection, your brain closes the loop. It knows what worked, what didn't, and what's next. Do this after every session, and you stop being just a student. You become your own teacher. And that's when learning stops being something you do and starts becoming something you are.